Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies, and babies, and babies, and babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Who hates me today? Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Bram likes me.
It's like a firing range
Bram's
today.
the only one. I found out over the last 24 hours I'm about the only one that likes him. Me, Glenn Youngkin, Mayor of Alexandria, a few people who are psyched about season tickets because they live walking distance to the new stadium. I'm it. That's what I found out. Like, I knew that my position on it, which was not pro what they're doing, but like understanding what they're doing and actually for the future of the franchises don't think it's the wrong thing to do. I do get like they're killing DC and that's been the larger take from everybody else. Like largely the reaction is, as Kornheiser apparently said on PTI, he's a villain.
He says villainy. Was the description.
Yeah, because if you do think about what is going to happen to downtown DC, it is going to be devastating. I mean, I don't think there's any way around it.
Yeah.
Like there was a report today that Clyde's down there is intending to close if they actually leave.
Right.
So that's one of the few major restaurants that remained open down there, and I don't. They're like reading the tea leaves, going, it's already bad down here. What happens when we don't have the Caps and the Wizards here, 80 times? Like, what's it going to be? And if Clyde's is shutting down because, like, that place is, like, too big to fail, tells you everything you need to know about what's about to happen down there.
Yes. And I mean, the worst of it now.
Sell your property now.
Well, that was what I thought the worst part about yesterday's announcement is they go, oh, yeah, we're intending to play the 2028 season. And I thought, we're about to go into 2024. And you've just announced this, and if this becomes official, people are not going to wait around for your arena to close.
That's right.
That guy, Alex Ovechkin, only is going to last 2 more seasons after this one. The Caps are going to play without him the last season there. Rough times ahead for that area. Even rougher than it is right now.
It's bad. I mean, he's getting hit. I mean, he knew he was going to get hit for it. Would
have been great if he had answered a few questions about it.
I agree.
It's a valid criticism.
It is. And he owes it.
Correct.
To everybody.
He owes it to everybody. He hasn't answered questions since taking Saudi money either.
Yeah. Well, he did. Who did he do an interview
Not in person. He did it with the Post.
He did it with the Post, where they did ask him about it.
Was it the Post or one of those?
Yeah, I think it was the Post.
It was the Post.
I was pretty sure he did an interview, and they did ask him about it, and he did answer questions about it. You may not like his answers, but he gave some answers about it.
Right.
And some of it was, I might be the first to do it, but I'm not the only one. And he might be right about that.
Sure, but you didn't have to be the first one to cross that line.
Yeah. Me and Jay Monahan are buddies. So
it's a lot to unpack. That's all. I mean, that's where I still stand a couple days later. It is
because it is a big move. I'm not. I recoil at the idea that he's moving out of the area. He's not. Like that. That's not what happened here. But it is a big change for sure.
But
it's a big change.
But you can't tell me you wouldn't have the same reaction if Josh Harris, if they were playing in DC, said we're going to Landover. And
that's what Jack and Cook did.
I know, but that's what I'm getting at. We've seen how it's gone. I think that's why everyone's I think everyone is more inherently negative.
Everyone remembers that the Caps and the Wizards with Bullets played in Landover.
Right. But I think that's why everyone is inherently reacting this way is because they literally have seen one of the teams do this and say the same thing. Oh, it's right off the Beltway. It's right outside the city. And see it inherently
it's right
fail.
Off the metro. It's not far.
I know, but I think it's a valid reaction by everybody because they saw what the Redskins did back then, saw what it led to, and granted, a lot of that would have been solved by winning. Let's be honest here. Like if they move out there and the Wizards get a superstar, can't tell me we're all not going to go to Virginia to go see some superstar.
Which may happen in the next 3 years. You don't know.
It's the Wizards, bro.
Who knows?
Let's calm down.
Who knows?
Let's calm down with that
Who
one.
Knows? Who
Let's
knows?
Not get too crazy.
I don't know anymore. 3-4 years is a lifetime in a sports life cycle now.
With that franchise.
What are the Commanders going to look like in 3-4 years?
No, I have no idea.
No idea. You don't know who their quarterback is, who their coach is. You don't know anything. You don't know where the stadium is. You don't know anything.
Wizards have jokes right themselves. They're inherently consistent. So
consistently bad. They've been consistently bad. With a couple of one-offs for a couple of moments when they've had a couple of, shining stars.
Yes. But I just think everybody's reaction is because, oh my God, we saw the major team, the number one team in the area do this. Rightfully so, everybody's freaking out.
Like, the Wizards could win the lottery this year, right? I mean, they're going to have either the worst or second worst record in the league.
Sure.
So they might win the lottery.
Right, without an inherent superstar.
Okay.
That's tabbed as the number one guy. That's
I hear you. But still, it could happen. Like that could easily happen this year. And if they don't win it this year, they could get it next year because it doesn't look like they're going to do much better.
Sure. I'm literally not pegging the Wizards to do anything successful. Why would I do that? So, But I'm just getting at here. What I'm getting at here is everybody has seen what happened with the Redskins. And that's why I think everyone is rightfully so having the reaction that they're having.
The general consensus from most people that at least I've read, I haven't listened to a lot of other places, but most of what I've read, well, I'm sure not on the Monumental Network, they're probably talking very glowingly about all of this today. but of other places not literally aligned with the Monumental Network.
It's great. We all love Virginia.
I like Virginia. We all like Virginia. Who doesn't love Virginia? Virginia's the best. I go there all the time to do all my shopping and everything.
For the for the district. Yeah, for the district.
Boy, that was a mistake. Oh, man. The For the District hashtag last night.
Might want to leave that out there,
on
Wizards.
The tonight's drip, tweet from the Wizards, because that's the best part of the game is what is everybody wearing? And the only one who's interesting to see is Kuzma. But anyway, they do that anyway, and the For the District hashtag was up there again, and they're gonna have to shift that away from that one fast.
Hashtag
today.
Wizards is probably what you should do there.
Yeah. Hashtag anything but that.
Oh, by the way, they lost by 20.
Well.
Without Zion.
Yeah, well, he was busy eating, according to Stephen A. Smith.
Whatever, still.
Where was he at? La Dip? Where was he at last
He's not
night?
going that fancy.
No,
He's a jumbo slice.
He was at the fine establishments in Virginia, Bram. That's where he was.
He's a jumbo slice, bro.
Jumbo.
Ben's Chili Bowl.
Jumbo slice.
Zion ain't
He's
going
like, this is good. I'll have 5 of these. This is great. So the large consensus has been not on my side about it, which I am more understanding of why they did this. I think largely because I think somebody was going to plant a flag there for so many reasons that somebody was going to do it. And this is why I always thought the front runner for it was the Commanders, because they already do practice out there. There are plenty of viable sites to actually build a stadium with adjacent things like Tedland is going to be. They've talked about Commanders. That's why I always thought, like, in the end, Virginia's got the most money to spend. All the corporate money's there, the population growth. They've got spots to do it. They're already in Ashburn. There are plenty of plots of land in Loudoun County to build this stadium. The Metro's there now. It made too much sense. And I always thought, like, in the end, when RFK fizzles because these people can't get it done, they can't get control of the land, let alone, decide to actually give it to a sports entity, that I thought, like, in the end, they'll just put it there. But then, Glenn Youngkin got real quiet, and he and Ted got in cahoots, and they put together this plan. And it's, it should be said, it is not done yet. And there is clearly a significant amount of backlash about it. So will that spook the General Assembly enough not to vote for it? I think this is steamrolled in a direction that it's going to happen, but there is the possibility of, now that it's reached public light and they plan on doing this preemptively because it hasn't been voted on, that it's possible that it will get derailed.
Sure.
It's possible. I don't think so, but it's very possible. So this isn't done, but it is his intention. And that's as bad as doing it, really. Correct. For now, that's to everybody, who are going to make a judgment about it. It's as bad.
Yes, and I mean, you and I.
You may not have murdered them, but it's attempted murder.
No, of course, for sure. And you and I talked about this. Like, you wouldn't have done what you did yesterday morning without knowing your percent chance is so astronomically high that
I think Youngkin wouldn't have done it because the House and Senate there are controlled by Democrats.
Right.
So why would he put himself out there only to fail if he didn't know it wasn't going to happen? He knows it's going to happen.
Exactly.
He knows it's going to pass.
And I mean, let's just play that hypothetical. Let's say it doesn't happen. Then he has to crawl back to D.C. and D.C.'s going, we offered you $500 million. We're not doing that now.
Yeah, well, then what does he do? Like, then he moves to Maryland.
Moves the land over.
Then he moves the land over and goes,
like the only
hey,
spot
Wes,
of land.
yeah, when you lose the Commanders to RFK, I will go out where you are and build this here. And it won't be as pretty, but I'll do it.
That'd be funny, actually. We'd be close to what Philly has. If you did both of them and it was a cross, was it like a cross bright seat? You could do that over there. There's still that giant plot.
All of it?
Have all of them right there in Landover.
Ted Land versus Commander Land.
It's all the same, though. We all support each other.
Yeah.
You can go up to the arena on game days.
Don't tell some of the former employees of the Redskins that.
Yeah. What's the thing up in Philly? Xfinity Live? Monumental Live.
Monumental Live. Here we go. It's just
full of ideas over here.
Giant mural of Ted up on somewhere.
They don't show the Commanders games on Sundays.
So I'm not changing my opinion. I think if I was sitting in his shoes, I understand why he did this. Like I do. And
sure.
And I get it for many reasons that are just beyond being what seems a little petty. But and also, you do have to get by the ethical idea of you're stabbing the city in the heart.
Correct.
And that's the part that's the hardest to get around. Like, does this make sense for his franchises? 100%. Like, can he do what he's building there in inner city Washington? No, not unless he got RFK, of which they can't even get their hands on for the Commanders, who they've been trying to get anyway. He is notoriously, and I say this not in a really terrible way, but he is thin-skinned person. Like, that's just his personality trait. It doesn't make me hate him. I just know this about him. I think anybody who's worked with knows this about him. And he does get irked. And when you're on the wrong side with him, you're dead to him. Yeah, right. And I have a feeling that that's how some of these negotiations might have gone with D.C. is they were rolling out the red carpet and he's like, I'm your partner. And they're like, yeah. We do want to work with you in Chinatown, not there. Right. And he goes, oh, really? You're dead to me. And that feels like it's a little bit of that. He's notoriously thin-skinned person. I mean, everybody, who's in the industry knows this about him. I say it somewhat as a criticism and somewhat of it's just his personality trait. Right. We all know this. Yeah. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Just he gets irked fast, and when you're on the wrong side with him, it turns with him. And so that could be some of this here too, that he's like, well, if you don't want to work with me on the things I need or want to build or want to grow, well, then I'm just going to turn my back on you. Watch me. And the ramifications of that are devastating to a certain area of this region for sure. The
other thing here, and I think if you haven't read it yet, David Aldrich's piece in The Athletic was, I think, the energy that I was looking for, because I think it's hard to unpack. Like I told this to you yesterday. As somebody that grew up here and is in their mid-30s, all I've known is Capital One Arena since I was a child. And I'm also on your side of things of, yes, logically this all makes sense. But David made the point that I think I was looking for because I couldn't quite put it into words. Ted is such a flag bearer of the city and that he loves the city, the culture. He named his freaking G League team the Go-Go. It's a perfect name. He talks about the punk scene here. Like, he eats, sleeps, and breathes DC so much, and you just don't see that from billionaires that often from here, right? And then for him to turn around and do the billionaire thing, I think that's where David criticized him today of, like, you kind of have to eat it sometimes with the city and say, I'm going to grin and bear it and take a loss here and try to help you rebuild. And instead, he turned around and what seemed like very quietly and ninja-like pretty much said, I'm out, I'm going to Virginia. And I think that's, like I said, I see both sides here. It's very gray. And David, by the way, heavy criticism of Mayor Bowser, which he should, because
that's where I landed yesterday on this. I'm like, if you really want to be mad about this, it's the officials in Washington that allowed a lot of the things to happen that made this decision not as hard as it should have been. It should have been a lot harder had they done things within their power to be more of a partner to him down there.
And you can be mad at both. I think that's perfectly allowed here. You can be mad at both Bowser and him in equal amount here. But I think what David was getting at too was it can't happen on your watch. That was his at Bowser essentially saying they're leaving under your watch no matter what you think the negotiations, how they went or whatever. But Ted also left waving the flag for the city for all these years, and they were both good partners for 20, 25 years for that arena. And all of a sudden it's soured because you want your campus and all of this. That just sucks overall.
Yeah, but okay. All right. So Abe Pollin goes down as a saint for moving the teams to D.C.
with his own money, too. People forget that.
And revitalized this area. Yeah. Okay. Ted inherits this. And then he's watching it go back in a direction, and this is outside of his control. Yeah. He's done everything within his power to try to make this a place people want to go to. Right. It's not like he has been an owner who's allowed the arena to go to crap or has, they have invested in making the experience better consistently. They've also had, very fortunate to have one of the teams be extremely relevant and really good in championship level for a long time. And I mean, I want to give Ovechkin credit for that, but he's also kept those teams together. They had a long run together. Like, he is not an owner that sat back and took his hands off the wheel and allowed things to get to a point where you're like, you let this stadium go to crap. That's not actually what happened. Like, it is a nice arena. They have invested in it. But what he's watching happening around it, like, Abe planted a flag and said, if you build it, they will come. They did. All the condos went up, the property values went up, the businesses moved in, all these old, shells of buildings were now filled. It became a hub. And I think some of this is out of his control. There was new development that occurred in other parts of the city that became new and attractive, especially to young people who either moved or lived here. They don't live in that area anymore. They moved down to the Wharf and Southeast and those areas, and Southwest of those areas that there was nothing there at the time. So the Nets did you build it, we build it, you will come, and that happened too. So some of this was a little out of his control. But I think what Ted was saying back to the city was, you're seeing what I'm seeing outside of this arena. These businesses are closing. The bars are closing. The restaurants are closing. I know the pandemic's not your fault, but you have not installed any kind of business development plan to bring people back to work in this region of the city. And I don't hear from you what you're going to do about it. And I can't change that part. I'm the sports owner. I am giving you an anchor that's here, that thousands of people are going to be here this many nights a year. Why can't you help me rebuild this? And I know it's not a simple answer. I know they sit there and yell at the politicians and say, well, there's a simple answer. There isn't. I understand that. But I get where he's coming from, where Abe Poland built it and everybody came. He's watching it decay by no fault of his own. That's the thing. He built new things in there all the time. He upgraded the arena. He made the experience right. And all he saw around him was more and more and more decay without the city stepping in to figure out a way to stop it, whether they could or they couldn't. He didn't feel like they were. And I think it left him in a very difficult spot, because I agree with everybody's, position of, and this is the hard ethical, emotional part of it, you're driving a stake in the heart of it now by vacating. You're running away from the problem. Yeah. And so and I feel that. But he's like, I didn't create the problem. I've consistently tried to be the answer to the problem. I need my partners to help me, and they're not. And if I don't do this, I have no guarantee and no belief that they're going to build this area back up. So I have to live through this area the way it is until when things are going to change, when I can go somewhere where I have a better spot for my teams to grow and my business to grow. I understand what he was doing, but I understand why everybody's mad. But the because nobody wants to hurt DC, and that is what's happening today.
We can talk all day long about how that area has deteriorated, and yes, we like going out before and after games. We haven't been able to do that. Attendance for either team hasn't dropped down there. People still go to games. That's where my argument comes in here, too.
He's starting to worry, though.
It's mostly because of his teams, though. It's not because of the area. Chinatown, yes, is a little more seedy than normal, but I would
need someone then to explain to me, why are all these businesses closing down there?
It's probably,
if all these people are congregating there consistently, then what's the problem?
It's most likely rent. It's always rent. That's always the problem. People, we had bars like I mentioned RFD. RFD closed before the pandemic, years before the pandemic. I think a lot of bars, they just started getting gouged by people charging higher rent. And how do you fix that? I don't know. But I also know, too, my argument with all of this as well is, yes, things are deteriorating. But when have we not seen this city where areas ebb and flow all the time? Of that area is really, really good right now. And then all of a sudden things start to break down a little bit. And then another area becomes more vibrant and starts popping up more. And that one stays down. Yeah. But eventually it all circles right back around of, that area is starting to be built back up again. Now, whatever that quote-unquote rebuild would have been in Chinatown was, I don't know. But I also do know if you had stayed there, people eventually would have figured it out down there. I also think there's an argument to be made here, though, that if Bowser's group was straight up ignoring it, that's on her and her group. You don't know what the next group coming in could do, whenever that would be. And I guess that's where one of my problems with all of it is it just happened so sudden that I don't think the district realized either. We can't fix this overnight, but we can't even put a plan in place now, especially with you pulling out. And whoever the next mayor is, most likely, they've got to figure out what to do down there as well.
Listen, and now that they're gone for 30 years.
Yes.
Minimum.
Right. Yes, right, exactly. I feel like I said, that's why I feel like people think it's deja vu with the Redskins. We waited 25 years for this to start to figure itself out, and it's going to be 30 years by the time it's all said and done.
Jack Kent Cook wanted his own, not unlike this, he wanted a new whatever, and that one really goes back to, and the people who followed it closely then will confirm this, that was on DC too.
Right.
they did not work with him properly
Correct.
to give him what he needed, and therefore he almost tried to go to Potomac Yards, and then he ended up going
That had their own press conference for that, yeah.
Correct, which is why it goes back to history may repeat itself. This isn't a done deal yet. It feels like it is, but like it isn't totally yet, and the public outcry and the public reaction to it may make the Virginia legislators feel differently about the amount of money that's being put out there. They're also going to hear from their own constituents here. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Alexandria that are not pumped about this.
Correct.
I would think officials at DCA are a little like, guys, do you know what's about to happen to our airport now?
Yeah.
When you do this with traffic, it's going to be really rough. We want to hear how you're going to do infrastructure, and I don't know if they got an answer to something like that. So this is complicated. I still feel like, a lot of this, what I don't think he's, is taking into account is what you're saying to him is you are doing this and you're a villain for doing it, but you're not taking into account all of the factors around him that were working against him. And none of those were his fault.
Right.
Like, he's not at fault for the pandemic. He's not at fault for the federal government not forcing people to go back to work sooner. He's not at fault for business development plans to get people back in those vacancies down there. He's not at fault for these businesses closing and not reopening in any other way. And he's going, who's going to change this on our behalf? Crime is rising. We're hiring extra security constantly, and you're not presenting me anything that suggests any of this is going to change in the near term. And that's part of this story.
Right.
To be fair to him, in the end, though, and David writes this, and a lot of people basically said this, so you'd be a little less rich if you just stayed there, but you'd be doing right by the city.
Right.
And I'll hear that.
And that's why
I will hear that part of it. Like, you are a billionaire, get out of your bubble for a minute. So you would have made more money doing this. So what?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. As somebody who has waved the flag, who, like I said, goes all in on the DC music scene, that, went to Georgetown and has Georgetown in his arena, that's why I think people feel a little betrayed today. I think that's a word that I think we could use as well. Just as somebody that is in a position that you're in, that you can sometimes make those difficult decisions and, yes, lose a few dollars along the way, but do the right thing here. I think that's where people were kind of taken aback and hurt off of yesterday. And like I said, it ramped up so fast. And I know you say, oh, that's how it works today. But still, it was like, oh, my God, they're leaving Chinatown, and it happened in 36 hours.
A little bit, but I mean, he signaled it.
Yeah,
remember,
sure.
The second the Harris, sale went through, and they were saying, immediately, come home, Commanders. We're going to get you RFK. And he went, hold on a minute. If that's actually up for grabs, why aren't you talking to me about it? And if you're not talking to me about that specifically, why aren't you talking about the issues I have with our entity here and help me with public funds? Because you're going to give them public. You keep trying for, but you're not. And you keep talking about that. And he's thin-skinned. I could hear where he's like, you guys aren't going to help me out. You're taking me for granted is what he's feeling. You're taking me and us for granted, and we're asking for your help.
Right.
We're asking for your help. And they apparently didn't appease him in any way possible.
Right.
So was this a done deal no matter what? And was he, I signaled when he asked for $600 million, I knew he wasn't going to get it, that I know what that is. He's going to ask for something he's not going to get and then blame them when he leaves. That's fallen short of hitting the mark with a lot of people who cover this closely, and they go, you still didn't have to do it.
Right. Correct.
You still didn't have to do it.
Correct. Exactly.
It's your choice in the end to do this, and this is what you're doing.
Right.
For people like me and who can afford to go, I don't choose to because they're very expensive these days, but can afford to go to the games. To me, this doesn't change much for me in terms of wanting to frequent their games. I like going to hockey and basketball games. The fact that it's in Alexandria and not downtown DC changes nothing for me other than if I stay living where I live in Maryland, it's going to, make the travel to the game a little bit, 10 to 15 minutes longer. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. And what they're going to build, sounds like it's going to be really nice. And not only really the people in Alexandria can answer whether this is what they want with their region. But to me, I'm I'm okay with all of this. And I understand all the reasons that went into how he landed on this. I will agree that the ethical part of it is the hard part to stand on. And this year, he has a hard time standing on anything ethically when he takes money from the Qatari government.
Right.
So he's in a hard spot to sit there and really explain himself, and he's refusing to do so except in the form of an email or a press conference. It isn't a press conference. It's listen to me speak, and then I will take no questions and shut down the media, which I don't think is right either. I think he owes everybody a long, detailed explanation of the decisions and how he got to them. I think I understand most of them, and I also know that he's not a crazy person, so he's not going to come off as a crazy person. Yeah. People may not like what he has to say, but he's well thought through and he communicates very well. I'd like to see him do that because I think for everybody, they like to hear the reasoning, and I think he'd say some of the things I've just said here as this is what was going on, this is what was presented, this is where a lot of the new growth in the region is. I'm not moving them out, but we're going here. It's 4 miles away from where we are. It's within the DMV. The river's right there. We're not moving away. We're not moving to Tampa. That's not what's happening here.
But there's two quotes that jumped out at me yesterday. One, he had one in the press conference that now everybody's jumping on is he was like, hold me accountable. And there was like, we literally can't. We cannot hold you accountable.
Talk.
The only thing is, you don't answer questions. And how do we hold you accountable now? The same way we did with Dan? We just don't go to games now? Is that how people are going to hold you accountable from here on out? That's the only thing I can think of. And then the other one that I think people had an issue with was when Monumental released their just long-winded statement afterwards, their press release on all of it. He used the quote, "This unites the area," or something along those lines. And everyone's pushback was, you had an arena in the literal center of the city that people from all three jurisdictions went to.
And liked.
And liked. And yes, exactly. And for a lot of people, it is
There's largely no complaints about it.
Correct. And so you were literally the heartbeat of the metro. I mean, it was smack right in the center of everything.
Right, the junction point.
And yes, so don't push to people that quote when you are literally taking the ball and the puck across the river to Virginia. It's just not the same. I think people were just kind of like, spare me with that type of stuff. We know what this is, but don't tell us you're moving to a better place, essentially.
I mean, I don't know Dallas politics that well, but when Jerry built his new stadium, that wasn't anywhere near Irving or Dallas. It's in Arlington. It's not really close to the city.
It was the same place, though.
And then the Rangers moved over there, too.
Right.
And that's not anywhere near.
Those are both the same, though. Those are both in the same area.
They are, but they played in Irving. Now they play in Arlington. Those areas aren't really actually close to one another. Yeah. They moved to a different section of the city and rebuilt this thing. And if you went down there, you'd see it's this whole multi-sport mixed-use complex that we're going to get with the Capitals and the Wizards now.
Right.
And it's nothing like it used to be. This isn't that crazy abnormal. There are other places that have done this. What hurts is I think we know what's going to happen to downtown D.C. It was already trending in that direction, and he put a stake in the heart of it, is what he did.
And the talk already today was that the early rumblings of Capital One Arena is reduced to 10,000 seats, and then they do want it to be Mystics in Georgetown, as he said.
Concerts, residencies, whatever they can get in there.
Concerts, right. But once again, everyone goes, dude, the city just handed you a $60 million arena in Ward 8, and
what's going there?
You're just going to put the Go-Go there, and the Go-Go are literally not profitable. No G League team is. That's just a part of the getting one of those teams. Right. So people are like,
what's going in there?
What are you doing with that now? Because you can't just have a G League team play there. So
what are you going to get, a minor league hockey team and put them down there? I mean, I don't know.
That'd be smart. I've said that for years. A minor league hockey team belongs here. But once again, that's another whole set of infrastructure. I don't even know if that arena can have ice. That's a different. That makes your costs go way up. So.
Ted, I'm kind of still on your team.
The criticism,
I know you're going to hate that I called you thin-skinned, but you are. I'm still on your team, though. I'm still on your team. So am I. I'm very thin-skinned, too, about certain things.
The long story short,
buddy.
Yeah, I mean, the long story short here is this is what happens when you make a move like this. The criticisms are real, and you need to listen to them. But as I said, not only with the Redskins moving out to Landover, what would have solved a lot of that crap? Winning. And
That's
so
right.
If you have them both winning, people can't look away.
People are going to go.
And so, but good luck with that. You're not going to have number 8 out there anymore.
There's a lot of people that, season ticket base is going to be shredded. No, it's not. It's going to change.
It'll change. Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of people in Virginia that are going to look at this and be, this is going to be very close to them now, and they're going to buy the tickets.
Yes.
If they can afford them.
I mean, that's a whole different.
Which is a good question. What's going to happen now? Who's paying for this? Because if those tickets go up any higher than they are, which it assumes it will because of the new development, I think people are going to go, oh, really? You moved him all the way out here, and now it's $175 to go to a regular season Wizards game, and Zion's not even playing because he's a jumbo slice? I don't have time for this.
David Aldridge had a good point in his,
Is
too.
there jumbo slice out there? They better get one.
It's going to be something bootleg version.
Yeah.
David had a good point, too. He also brought up Detroit. When Detroit moved out of the city, I guess they moved north of the city, wherever that arena, where the Pistons.
Auburn Hills.
And he basically said, the players at one point said, we used to play in front of the auto workers. Now we play in front of the executives. And that's just, that's what it feels like for this. I
think that, unfortunately, is pro sports in general.
Sure.
I mean, all the prices across the board have made this very unattainable for a lot of people.
Right.
And that's the heart, and that's just the reality of the pro sports dynamic, no matter what the sport and where it's played. Yeah. Like, it's hard to go. And I've lamented it. Like I said, I'd go to more games, but I can't stomach paying the prices to do it. I want to take my kids to Caps games, but I can't pay $500 every time for one of these things. It's just not feasible even for me. And I'm not sitting here crying poor, it's a very expensive endeavor these days.
Exactly.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Brady Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Here's the first selection from 1997. It was an easy choice for Throwback Thursday this week. That is the year that the then MCI Center opened for the first time. And on its 30th anniversary, it should be the last year, according to Virginia officials and Ted Leonsis, that it will have Wizards and Capitals games in it. From that point forward, if you believe everything that you hear, the Mystics will play in what is now Capital One Arena. And then we'll have, I don't know. I'm not sure. Wale's residency? I don't know.
I think that it's the beginning of the end. It's not going to stick around. There's just
I don't think so either.
There's just no. You and I have seen this too many times before where, oh, yeah, we're going to keep it open. Don't worry. And it's like, are you? Because I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening.
Well, it has to pay for itself.
Right.
So what's going to be in there?
Right. And is the city, we haven't even discussed this, is the city going to cut him a deal on the lease? Because that was one thing he complained about so much.
Not anymore.
Right.
And, and then, I was yesterday, I'm like, could they put a casino there? Well, that makes sense, actually. However, Are they going to give him that?
No chance.
I was thinking about that today. I'm like, maybe they would do that. I don't know if it's a good idea, but maybe they would do that, but would they give it to him?
It's going to be the Gambit Casino.
Oh. Where the VIG is 48%. If you bet $3, you will only win $2, no matter what the outcome is.
My God. Please don't do that, DC. Do not take any ideas from me on that one. That was sarcasm. I don't think they would give. And here's the other thing, too. You would have to need some kind of crazy approval for a casino, right? You need to. I just don't see them being like, oh, yeah.
Not to him.
Yeah, we'll let you do that.
Now I think about it. It's like maybe to somebody else.
Maybe someone else moving their pro sports franchise into the city.
Maybe. Who would that be?
You're wearing the hat over there. I mean.
Not Capital One Arena, though.
No. But, I don't know. But if Harris could go, I'll open up the Commander Sportsbook in the city. They're going,
look.
Sure.
It goes without saying that they've got to get RFK done now. Right. The city officials. Otherwise, boy, do they look bad. And they've got, whether the RFK people down there want it or not, they have to make this happen now. And if they do, I think they'll try to paint it as an all's well that ends well, because while we need to do something about Chinatown once the Wizards and Capitals vacate, we are going to redevelop RFK, which has been long overdue, and that's going to be a revitalized part of the city. Now, whether that's true or not with a football stadium, I don't know. But they'll be able to get Taylor Swift concerts, the World Cup, the Olympics, whatever, the NFL draft, whatever else will happen.
No, I mean, I think it's a legitimate argument, too, because look at what they've missed out on. Taylor Swift didn't come here to Washington, D.C. Yeah. They didn't get the World Cup when they were tabbed to get the World Cup. They were supposed to get these big events, and it's because FedEx Field is just not up to everyone's par. That
we'll have major college football playoff games. We'll have major soccer friendlies if they have a brand new sparkling football stadium.
You'd think they'd get a Super Bowl too. You'd think Goodell is probably now saying, You get
if they
that
put
done,
a roof on it for
yeah,
sure.
if you get that done.
Or at least retractable roof for sure.
Correct. So, I think now the city's going, all right, everyone needs to line up. And
we've got to do this.
And, give us what we need here.
And
so.
I'll reiterate, the dumbest thing they did the other night was point out that they offered Ted Leonsis $500 million because they've been crying poor about, we can do this, but I don't know. And then all of a sudden, Josh Harris is going, ka-ching. Yeah. Now I know what you can give, at least for that. Well, it's going to be more for something of this scale and sizing. You know it.
One thing lost.
It's going to happen.
One thing lost on that, by the way, was I think Bowser, because she spoke yesterday. Don't look up that press conference, by the way. She was terrible. One thing she was like, I think one of the quotes was, "Oh yeah, we could have that $500 million to you by the springtime." And I was like, "Oh, I thought you guys were out of money there, Muriel. I thought you guys didn't have any money to do that stuff."
If she's really on the clock now. If she doesn't get this done with the Commanders and they end up going to Maryland, which seems like the most logical thing that would happen. They're not going to Virginia now. The most logical thing is they either at FedEx Field with the new stadium or at the new site, close to FedEx Field that's right on the metro, and then they'll do something with FedEx Field, probably a practice facility. If that happens, she's going to have struck out bad, and it's going to look terrible. And, they also have to get the RFK plot, which they don't have yet.
That's true. No, that's true.
They do not have it. If they can't even negotiate to get it, what does that say?
Right. No, I mean, but I feel like now everyone, including everyone that's not even from here, now knows the urgency that you cannot have Washington, D.C. without any of the pro sports teams, or without this many, with two leaving and one possibly coming in. You can't just roll on with the Nats and D.C. United. I did want to pull up this one thing. This is why Bowser just did not sound that good yesterday. Did you hear the clip of her talking about Chinatown and the Metro lines?
No.
She didn't know what Metro lines went where.
What?
And I just...
How do you not know that's Gallery Place?
Look, I'm the DC mayor. I'm not an expert on their crime, but that traffic is notorious. So people know about it. And I think, which lines go to that station?
Blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow. So every line goes to Gallery Place, right? Red, blue, orange,
not every line
and
does.
Yellow and green. Is that right? I think that's right.
No. Metro Center is a stop away, and that has the other lines that don't go through Gallery Place, but not every line technically goes to Gallery Place on that one. I'm just saying. And she also did that.
She's had a rough day.
She also did that. Is that right? And I was like,
right?
Come on now.
Guess you don't take the Metro. How about this one?
Would have been better to say every line is within 2 stops. That would have been, that's all you needed to say there.
The one of the major 4 left, the Nationals, did launch this. Did you see this? The single ticket thing?
No, I didn't see this.
The Nationals have rolled out a new ticketing initiative that the club is billing as the largest single game ticket launch in team history, a reference to the promotional push behind it, the club's 12 Days of Natitude is what they're calling it, which will feature more than what they're saying is $40,000 worth of prizes, including memorabilia and exclusive access that are up for grabs till 2 days before Christmas if you purchase tickets to any of the 2024 Nationals home games, with an asterisk. That doesn't include opening day.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not.
Because they don't have a problem selling tickets to that one.
That's right. It's the one that sells out every single year.
But those, no offense, John, those Twins games in June.
That's right.
They're a little problematic.
Whenever the A's, whatever city they're from.
The Las Vegas Bees show up here. It's going to be a problem.
So what is it? It's just like a sweepstakes? Is that all that is?
Each day features a special grand prize, including exclusive experiences with Dave Martinez, Lane Thomas, Stone Garrett, an all-inclusive luxury suite experience for 16. Fans who purchase tickets to any of the 2024 games during the promotional period are automatically entered into the sweepstakes and are eligible to win that day's prize.
Okay.
So you don't get it. You're just eligible to potentially win it.
Okay.
Listen, they're trying.
Who is it? Dave Martinez, Lane Thomas, Stone Garrett.
Who else are you picking?
Who else
are you picking?
I'd at least roll with Josiah Gray or Ruiz or CJ Abrams. I'm just saying, you're scraping the bottom of their bottom, essentially.
Hey, Lane had a pretty good year.
I agree.
Hey, had a great year in '76.
That's right.
That's what that one is. Hey, they're trying. I'll give credit. They're trying.
Your opening day giveaway, by the way, is opening day reversible bucket hat
for Nats.
Yeah,
I mean that game will sell because it's opening day.
We'll be there because they play. I believe I looked this up already. They play their same opening day as the Orioles, but the Orioles I believe are away, which means we won't be on the air that day. So, yeah,
whoop, that is.
I think I know what we're doing that day.
You want to go to opening day?
I always go to opening day.
It's not hard to get in, right?
Last year it wasn't hard to get in, so it's not going to be hard to get in this year. It usually is.
You got to pay an actual price.
Which is fine. It's all the pomp and circumstance.
Opening day is fun.
It's always a good time.
I agree. I'm actually trying to get opening day Red Sox, which is not opening day because they open on the road, because it's the Orioles. And that's my little me and Archer dad-son trip this year, is to go to opening day Fenway to see the Orioles. And it happens on the Montgomery County school calendar that he's off of school.
Wow.
For some reason
that
day. So I'm trying to, I think it's like it's probably like end of quarter professional day thing, something like that. So I'm trying to get tickets, and I know that's going to be hard to do, and I keep waiting for when are they releasing the tickets.
So that's that must be what, the week, that must be like April 6th, 7th, something like that.
It's like the 9th.
So because it says the Orioles actually are hosting the first game for the first time since 2018. They host the Angels, which
is opening day.
Is their opening day at Camden Yards, of course. But it's the first time they're going at home for the first time since 2018.
They used to be a regular of opening day.
Now,
the Orioles were always at home on opening day, of the actual opening day.
One thing I actually didn't notice either, just speaking of opening day, opening days against the Pirates, they're 4 o'clock. That's usually a 1 o'clocker. So that 4 o'clock, that's going to be a lively crowd, I think, for that one.
Pickles, hon.
No, I mean, so for the Nats. Oh, 4 o'clock.
4
Bullpen, hon.
Bullpen, hon.
Change the venue.
I have never even gotten to this. I keep waiting to say something about it, but the came and went news that David Rubenstein might buy the Orioles.
Yep, right, correct.
Like, that came, and then the Angelos family tried to squash it, which I don't believe you.
Right.
And
yeah.
So I guess they didn't get what they wanted. And they can't move to Nashville.
Well, in the chain reaction of Baltimore saying, whoa, we're not signing that lease yet now. And so that hasn't happened yet.
This is why things stay quiet, my friend.
Well, Westmore did come out and say they were hopeful to have a deal done before the end of the year. I had heard last week that it's going to happen after the new year now. They're going to go month to month, but who knows at this point.
They're going nowhere. I think he found that out.
Yes.
I think Angelos probably really wanted to at least toy with the idea of moving to Nashville.
Somebody would have made a premium.
Baseball shut that down.
Yeah, right.
So he got stuck. And then he wanted all these things, some of which were like, you want an elementary school at Pickles? Like, what do you... I'm not doing that.
Other side, warehouse.
Huh? I don't know. Yeah. Hey, hon, when's recess?
Utah Street High has a good ring to it.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that.
Right.
So I guess they're being sold now. Guess we'll find out secretly.
Find out. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe David Rubenstein will hold a press conference at Potomac Yards, and he'll tell us that the Orioles are moving there.
Something tells me David Rubenstein will take questions.
We'll see. You know who doesn't? John Angelos.
No, John Angelos.
Want to see my books? I'll show them to you. When? Tomorrow?
Sure, pal.
Hey, I'm here to see your books. No answer? Oh, great.
God bless Dan Connolly.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back. Bray wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Would I go viral on TikTok if I used this song and made up a dance to it?
No, because you are not the target audience of TikTok.
No, but I think I could do a really terrible dance on purpose. Like a terrible, terrible dance. Purposefully terrible dance to this. Old man TikTok.
Old man TikTok. Someone probably is already doing that, though. That's the problem with
this
TikTok.
One?
Everything's already been done. That's the problem with
That's
TikTok.
True. Everything's already been done.
It's all been done. If you think you're original, you're not. That's just what TikTok teaches me at this point.
Who sings this?
Freak Nasty.
Here's Freak Nasty's big hit. It came out in 1997, Throwback Thursday, because that's the opening of the then MCI Center.
I want to show you the album cover on that.
Oh, he didn't get all dressed up for it.
Pose.
A lot of rings, bracelets, a lot of jewelry. Freak Nasty, da dip. Very good.
We're going to get a Freak Nasty shirt.
That's good. 1997, Throwback Thursday for the opening of MCI Center, and it appears the end is near for that venue as the home of the Wizards and the Capitals. They're moving to Virginia. Hi, everyone. I'm from Virginia now.
No, it's bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you in Virginia. Since yesterday.
What did David Aldridge call him? Wait, hold on.
Potomac Yards
The Prince
Ted.
of Potomac.
Yeah, anyway, David went pretty hard on him. David's pretty good at going hard when he needs to. Let's see. So yesterday I had a freak out about the people movers at Dulles Airport, so much so that I cursed on the air. And I'm really not sure I've ever done that before. And it actually spooked me because if I do that during a Commander's broadcast, I'm going to get fired.
No dump, yeah.
So
no dump on that. So.
I can't believe that my brain didn't turn that off for once. I don't think I've ever actually dropped an F-bomb on the air. Ever.
It was dumped. I just want to say that.
It was dumped.
No one heard it, but it was dumped. So
yeah. So in Thank you to our listeners who now have been sending me a lot of things about people eating rice this week. And now the people movers. Shaq DM'd me an article from the Washington Post about the future of these things.
Oh.
I didn't know this was in the news.
Oh.
From the Washington Post. After more than a half century in service, Dulles International Airport's distinctive mobile lounges,
amazing name, by the way,
once slated for retirement, are getting a makeover
Yes!
that solidifies
Yes!
their presence for the long term. The Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Board of Directors gave final approval for $16.4 million to begin an overhaul of the airport's mobile lounges. The cost raised eyebrows among some board members who questioned why the authority was spending so much to upgrade vehicles that seem much more of the airport's past than its future. But Dulles officials say they think the vehicles will remain a vital part of airport operations for years and possibly decades. Why? Nobody likes them. Yeah, they're kitschy and they're weird. I can't believe there hasn't been a bunch of accidents with them. They drive by the moving planes constantly.
Well,
Nobody likes them. There's so many things wrong with them. I hate them. Why?
What I also don't understand is Dulles also has a monorail system.
Yes.
So why can't they just make it one thing?
I don't understand this. Somebody was quoted in it. Oh, his name is Rob Yingling.
Oh, nice.
So I just bring that up for our folks at Yingling.
There you go. Ding, ding.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Anyway, let's see. The mobile lounges, which have flat roofs and could hold up to 120 riders, and they put all of them on them, and were built by Chrysler.
Oh, okay.
At the time, they were the largest passenger-carrying rubber-tired vehicles ever manufactured. So? So what? I don't drive a Model T anymore either, guys. Anyway, whatever. I don't understand this. I don't like them. They're annoying. They're not efficient whatsoever. I hate them. Why are we doing this?
I like them.
Why?
Because they're unique.
And they're not.
That's just my thing.
They speed up nothing. They don't. They speed up nothing.
And?
They're not efficient. They're annoying.
Nothing about the airport's efficient.
If I sit down on one of the chairs, I feel bad about doing it. The guy who drives it has to wade through all these people and can't get to the front of it and has to say, excuse me, 8 million times.
Those people have jobs too.
It's terrible. I feel bad for them. That's what I'm saying. They can't enter the driving portal easily.
I do think when they replace them with newer models, let someone like do a donut in one of the old ones.
Yeah.
Like let them floor it and do some Fast and the Furious moves.
Yeah, let's see what he can. Let's do some
give
donuts.
me the
Let's
old
see what he
one.
can do.
Like let someone have the old one and I just want to see some donuts.
Let's
in the
see what he
middle.
can do.
Just open it up, baby.
Let's race them.
Yes, let's do it.
Why don't we have an annual race of those things?
I think that would be amazing.
That I would go to.
I would pay to go see
and I want people on it. So like I'm watching the movie Speed. So they're scared. I want to see it.
I want them to go to the next like monster truck thing at Capital One Arena and have Gravedigger jump over like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. I'm for that.
And then if he lands on it, it's flat, so maybe it's fine.
But once I get off my plane at midnight, the last thing I want to do is take that thing back to the terminal. I'll walk, thanks.
Speaking of that, someone did have like an amazing tweet yesterday of like, you just took your flight from LAX to National and you landed at 7 o'clock on a Friday night.
Yeah.
You're really tired and you go to get out and, oh, by the way, the Caps are playing at 7:30 and you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, or the Uber is $148.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
Surge pricing. Can't wait. Yeah, guess can't fly to DCA anymore. Not on a cat. I got to check the schedule on that one.
That's right.
The other thing that's sad for me, Curb Your Enthusiasm officially announced season 12, which comes out next year, will be officially its last. They have been doing this for 24 years. They've had long breaks in between some of the seasons.
I don't think it was ever postponed,
season 12.
but yeah.
Larry David had an amazing statement about it. He said this. As Curb, because he wanted to officially say, because everybody always thinks like he's never going to do it again, but he's officially saying it's over. He said this, as Curb comes to an end, I will now have the opportunity to finally shed this Larry David persona and become the person God intended me to be. The thoughtful, kind, caring, considerate human being I was until I got derailed by portraying this malignant character.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
I have felt for a long time this show was an elevated and much more sophisticated version of Seinfeld. And to me, as a series, it is a top 5 comedic series. I know that not all the seasons were the best, but like this show, when it first came out, was revolutionary and is amazing. And to me, it's one of the top 5 series. So I will be sad to say goodbye to that.
It's fine. It's never been my thing. I understand why people like it. That's all.
The one episode I would just point out to people, I don't remember which season it is, but if you want a decent understanding and actually find a way to laugh a little bit about what the conflicts in the Middle East, is watch the episode entitled Palestinian Chicken, because it is outrageously funny and clearly was way ahead of its time in understanding the conflict that's been happening over there.
Got it.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram watch the show, ESPN 630 at Sports Capital. Caps fans will be singing this in unison in the new arena in Potomac Yards in 2028. And even when the music goes down because the puck drops, they will continue to sing it.
NHL karaoke.
Yes.
Not something the league does across the board now.
No. Throwback Thursday, 1997, that's when this song came out. That's when the MCI Center opened, and sounds like it will be semi-closing its doors in 2027, 30 years to the date of its inception. I know they're saying the Mystics will go play there. I know they're saying they'll have unnamed residencies and other shows, but I don't believe it, actually.
I don't believe the longevity.
I don't believe it.
I believe you're going to try for a year or two, and you're going to find out that it's going to cost way too much.
Yeah.
That's what
what are they going to, here's the other question, like, okay, to do these things they're going to do to the arena, to change it, are they going to spend the money to do that?
Right. None of it makes sense now. Like, why are you going to pump the money?
He said that
there?
because he knew that he can't say that they're vacating the arena and that the arena could stay in use,
That's
although nobody's saying how it would be used.
Right.
So
exactly.
And he's like, we'll put the Mystics there. Great. How many games? I mean, even if you did do that, let's just say they did do that. How many home games do they have? 10 to 15?
Probably 15 to 20.
Tops.
Let's see.
Tops. Like, I think the WNBA schedule only has like 25, 30 games before the playoffs roll around. So it's not that many
There's 40
dates.
games, so 20.
So we'll have 20 home games, 20 dates.
Yep.
20 dates plus potential playoffs. I mean, it's not a lot. It's not a lot.
Right. And as I have pointed out, ESA sells out every single game, but that's because that's in an intimate arena. And now you're just saying, oh, we're going to move from there now.
Yeah. I don't know.
Good luck with that.
I was thinking about this too today. If we do go to Brazil, for the game.
Oh, to shift gears. Yeah, sure.
Gears, yeah. That if we go there, I do hope that ESPN sends Sal Palantonio to Sao Paulo. Like, I don't know.
Sal Pal and Sal Pal.
Yeah. Sal Palantonio in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, I think you have to do that.
You have to do that. He must have that. If he's not emailing whoever the executive producer are, go, I don't care who's playing, you're sending Sal Pal to Sal Pal.
It's like if Rossini still worked there, that'd be like not sending her to Italy if they ever went.
Correct.
Yeah, I think you got to
Or
do
the
that.
Giants, for that matter, at this point.
Yes, right.
Cutlets needs to go play that game in the Rome Coliseum. Remember, he'd be doing all these gestures, and they'd be like, what is he doing?
I feel like the American version of Italian food, they're not going to be like fond of. They're going to be like, what is the chicken cutlet? Like, what is that? They're like, it's a sandwich? No, we don't do that here.
They're like, what?
Yes, right. What goes on that?
We don't eat that.
Breading, meat, and cheese.
Yeah.
No.
What?
Playa.
We don't do that.
Right.
We don't ever do that here. Go home.
Yeah, I don't think they'd like that.
Let's see. All right. Eric Bieniemy today was asked about his future.
Mm-hmm.
And, spoiler alert, he's not going to tell you what it is.
Right.
But I thought it'd be interesting to hear it because off of last week's John Keim, Jeremy Fowler, the players and he have had an on and off getting to know each other relationship. No hatred, but it ain't flying right now. And the offense has actually dipped. Oh, by the way, the Commanders are 23rd in scoring again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's where they are. So it's not been, at least on the scoreboard, not through the whole season, but through the course of it, it's no different than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
The yardage totals are up, but the scoring totals remain almost exactly where they were. Granted, it's been a major lull the last few weeks. They haven't been able to crack 20 points the last few weeks. So all that being said, his name's getting thrown around for, all of a sudden people are like, maybe the Bears will get him, which may or may not be true, but you're hearing his name out there about what is next.
You also heard, I don't know, did you see the Mahomes quote too?
No.
Mahomes, I guess, was asked about how the offense has been this year, and he said when we had Bieniemy here, some of the carryover has been the discipline, but you've seen we haven't been as buttoned up as normal. So, like, you're hearing it from that side, too.
Yes.
So
one of the things Travis Kelce said before the season on, I think it was New Heights, he
on
said,
New Heights, yeah.
He goes, they need to pay attention to him. He'll make them better.
Right.
So there are proponents of his, and this style has been on and off here, you know. So anyway, he does his Thursday press conference as he does every week before a game. And today he was specifically asked if he thought about your future.
You know what, Nick? And that's actually a great question. I'm surprised that it's the first time it's come up. But as coaches, we have to live in the now. That's the only way that you can survive. You can't worry about what's taking place around you. The only thing that matters is today. I got to make sure that I'm accountable to our coaching staff. I got to make sure that I'm accountable to our players. I got to make sure that I'm accountable to this entire organization. I can't worry about the outside noise and everything that's taking place. I got to make sure that today that we can go out and win on third down, making sure that I'm giving our guys the best chance of being successful on Sunday to go out and win. That's the only thing that matters. And then after that, we'll start thinking about the next opponent, which will be the Jets. But you have to live in the now. If you're thinking about everything else, you can't get a job done if you're focused on all the things that are outside. I learned this a long time ago. Eliminate distractions.
Has it been hard to live in the now this year?
Not at all. Not at all. You deal with it. You accept it. It's reality. I mean, my bad, excuse my language. We are who we are. Okay? Can't change that. That's who we are. So now what is my job? My job is to make sure that I can make it better. So right now, as we're standing, we're 4-9. My job is to make sure that we can come out of this game and be 5-9. That's all that matters.
Okay. So he didn't say anything that's newsworthy, obviously. He didn't suggest he's going anywhere, although I'm sure he's concerned about what his future is here, as anybody would be at 4-9 and the ownership, changeover. And this was always a risk, by taking this job. I think back in January or February when they finally got the deal done, we were all kind of like, doesn't he see that this is shaky ground?
Right.
We didn't even know if for certain that the sale was going to go through, but it felt extremely likely.
That's right.
And in taking it, you're going, wow, that's quite a hedge bet. Like, you're going with, they've already anointed a second-year, fifth-round pick as their starting quarterback. You know that they don't have Hall of Fame players around them at this point. They're going to be hamstrung by what they can spend because ownership situation. Like, even if they wanted to do major upgrades, they're not going to have the authority to do it.
Yep.
You took this job anyway. Why'd you do that? Like, what is your reasoning for doing that? And some people surmised, well, he didn't have any other offers. I actually don't totally believe that. I think he literally saw this as upgrade of position, probably in pay, was offered and given, and they did live up to. They gave him the authority, for better or worse. They gave him the authority. So Rivera lived up to that with him. He said, you're going to have authority of this. And I think a lot of us now, in hindsight, are like, we wish you took a little bit of it back because clearly it didn't mesh as well as you thought it would. But it is, now he's sitting here and here we are. And this was semi-predictable that if they weren't gangbusters this year, we'd be sitting here in December going, what are you going to do next? Because whatever your best laid plans were for this, it's not totally working out right now.
Well, the other part about with him personally too is why he took the job here as well, is I think we'd all be remiss to not say his pathway to being a head coach even here was there. Like, he knew Rivera only had 2 years left on his deal at the beginning of this year. Let's say everything does go well. It means they're not getting fired at the end of the year, and most likely they're just going to let Rivera coach it out. Or
if it goes really, really well, the conspiracy theorists go, Rivera moves up to the front office, names him the head coach,
correct,
and we move forward that way.
Exactly. So
I think I don't want to pretend that that is what was happening, but it felt like a possibility of why they were doing this.
100%. And so I think that's another reason in why he signed on here is you saw the pathway of him moving up if it all went great.
Goes really well. I'm giving you a ton of authority. You basically are the head coach on that side of the ball.
Right.
And if things go really well and we have the improvements that we're looking for, we could talk about what the next step is. And maybe Rivera does just go, I'm going to just focus on building the roster and he's going to be the head coach of the team.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that felt like a possibility. They never acknowledged that.
Of course.
But it felt like something that could be true. Now here's where we are. But every team makes a lot of bets. This one made a ton of them this year.
Yep.
All of which read Tinderbox to me.
Yes.
Read Tinderbox to me. And, unfortunately, they are 4-9. Unfortunately, their offense has had a lot of really good moments, but all of a sudden, if you look metrically at them now, they're one of the worst teams in turnovers.
Yep.
They're among the worst in interceptions. They also now in scoring are at around a tick higher, but not much higher than they were under Scott Turner last year. And I would argue that the quarterbacking play has been better this year over Wentz and Heineke. For sure it has been.
Yep.
Did they put him in the position to succeed early? We can argue that. And that goes on EB. All of those sacks, some of them are on Sam, and some of them are on you're throwing the ball 70% of the time. How many times this guy got to throw the ball? When are you going to lean on the run game? And then it's turned recently to how come your biggest playmaker, Terry McLaurin, doesn't see the ball? What's going on? So there's been a lot of ups and downs in this year one, but that's the bet they made in a year one that things could be just, I think I would have been happy with, because I expected their defense to be good. Mm-hmm. If they were just better than average, or better than they'd been. I landed on, if they end up 15th in offense, that's pretty good. That would be an upgrade from where they were. It would show signs of them getting better. And I assumed that the defense would hold up its end of the bargain, and that would have them sitting here at 7-6, playing for a playoff spot. But, it's not Bieniemy's fault that the defense cratered. That's not his fault.
Of course.
But the offense, as predicted, is up and down, and now isn't the answer. Mm-hmm. And it's been clear throughout this process that not everybody's warmed up to the way he goes about things.
Right. And especially, it's also, it's the way the offense is being run, and they're not winning. And as I always say, too, I think this team was perfectly fine with handing off, not literally, but handing off who the star is each week. Under Scott last year, we saw Dotson have a couple amazing games. We then would see McLaurin have amazing games. We would have Robinson have amazing games. It was all kind of by committee of what the game plan was going to be.
And when Rivera pulled back and said, we need to run the ball more,
yeah,
he would do it publicly.
Right. And,
he didn't do that this year.
But what would happen is all of, a guy would have a day each week, is what I'm saying. Is it'd be McLaurin was the guy this week. Dotson was the guy this week. Robinson was the guy this week. This year, they're dropping back 45 times a game, and nobody's having a day.
Nobody's had a 100-yard game.
It's what are we doing?
The
process isn't paying off.
The only 100-yard receiving game was Brian Robinson on a couple of broken plays in Seattle.
Which were great plays.
I don't want to take anything away from it, but you're doing something wrong if you have McLaurin, Dotson, and Samuel for that matter. Yeah. Well, actually, Samuel had one. He had 100.
That's right. You're correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But
even Bieniemy last year had a couple games where he was getting the Deshaun Jackson line of 2 receptions for 90 yards.
I've been saying this for 2 years. I said they have too many guys that need to get the ball in their hands, so there will be weeks that guys get forgotten. But as long as they're winning and scoring points and moving the ball, everybody's going to be okay with that.
Right.
When they're not, then you start asking the questions. Wait a minute. You lost 45-15 and Terry McLaurin had 1 target and no catches. That doesn't seem right.
That's right.
Or you lost this game because he got sacked 7 times and Brian Robinson had 6 carries. How does that make any sense?
Right.
If you're winning when you're doing it, it answers a lot of questions. When you're not, it opens the door for what's going on. And then in the summer, Rivera had to openly admit that not everybody was on board with how hardcore all of this was.
Yeah.
Then we read the piece that detailed the season, none of which was a surprise to me. I'd heard all of this stuff, not the rolling thing with the legs and the meetings, but all the rest of it I had heard, but I didn't feel like it was fair to talk about it because you let the results speak for themselves.
Sure. Yep.
And had this worked and they're 9-4, I would have been like, see, he was doing it the right way. They just had to get on board with it. But because they're 4-9 and their numbers aren't great anymore, then now you start going, maybe this wasn't the best fit year one for everybody.
The other part about all this too, and you and I have talked about it a little bit, off of them having the Cowboys game and playing on Thursday, you get to watch the rest of the league. And then this past week, of course, they had a bye. They also just, to me, are not passing the eye test either. You're looking at other teams that are bad, but they're more buttoned up than them.
Buttoned up, much more competitive. The last few weeks especially.
And I watched the Jets on Sunday against the Texans, and that was low scoring in the first half. But then I would just you'd watch them on the eye test, you go, they're actually efficient enough. They don't seem like they're all dumb and making these really crazy mistakes. They just have been dealt a bad hand. And then I look at the Commanders a lot of times and you guys just don't even look buttoned up sometimes, where you're taking dumb penalties or you're lined up in the wrong spot.
Giants and Bears are epitome of this.
Yes,
like their seasons were over.
Yes,
they were.
exactly.
They were over,
right.
and for a lot of reasons. Like in the Giants' case, really tough schedule, tons of injuries.
Tons of injuries.
Right. Look at them.
Right.
They're at least like, are they going anywhere? No. But like, they're buttoned up.
Yep.
They're competitive. They're in these games that they play. They're winning more of them than they're losing these days.
Yeah.
Bears, same thing. They made this trade for Sweat. It looks like revelatory for them. But all of a sudden, like, the stuff on the offense is turned for them. And they're better. And Fields looks better. And they had some guy that we'd never heard of playing quarterback for a period of time. And they had a bunch of injuries. And they had a slow start. We just have not fixed it. I was talking about this the other day. I shouldn't say moment again because people were like, stop saying moment. These teams are having, everybody has them. We haven't had one.
They're getting better as the season goes on.
Yeah.
No matter
That's
how
what
bad
you
it's
want.
no matter
That's
how
what you
bad it's
want.
gotten, they still are playing hard. And the Giants have a freaking undrafted rookie free agent quarterback. And he's winning. And he's the viral moment of the league. And we all know nothing's going to come of it.
They haven't had a single time this year where their two best offensive linemen played.
Right. Exactly.
Not one time has that happened.
And they've gotten better.
2 top 10 pick tackles. They have not had one single game where both of them played at the same time.
Right.
Maybe, not even at the beginning of the year. Andrew Thomas was hurt early in the year.
Yeah.
It's not happened. We played them twice. Evan Neal didn't play in either one. Andrew Thomas only played in one. He was coming off of injury. They were missing the entire offensive line the first time we played them.
Oh, that's right.
And we lost.
Yes.
To their backup quarterback. It's tough. Now, on Bieniemy's future, like, I don't know what it is. I think we all know that a lot of changes are probably coming here.
Yeah.
And to the point of Kansas City players basically going, and I think fit matters. Like, it worked for them. Like, they wanted the accountability and the push, but they also had a magician playing quarterback for them.
Right.
So this made me rethink a little bit about the Bears a little bit. Like, the rumors about would they be interested in him? And I'm sitting there going, he's just putting his name out there, or his agent is or whatever, because he knows that like some change is coming and he's probably trying to get ahead of it. So I don't blame him. Like, everybody needs to figure out what their future is. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? Whether they go with Fields or Caleb Williams, because they're going to have the number 1 pick, whichever choice they make, it will be with a quarterback that can do these off-schedule things that he's more accustomed to, that he's succeeded with. And who knows? Maybe that fit does work for him out there if that's the direction they end up going. Maybe Kansas City is like it is fair to wonder him not being there. That's the big change. Like, everyone keeps saying about their receivers, they didn't have good top tier receivers last year either.
Right.
But they're not scoring this year. So you know what? Maybe him not being there, let's give him some credit. Maybe he's the big thing that's not there anymore. Maybe they are missing him.
The question, I'll give credit here, was Steve Walls out in Kansas City. And his question that got Bieniemy named was he asked, who are the coaches that hold players accountable? And then Mahomes answered with this.
Let me talk about those minor details. I know in the past, you've said, and some other players have talked about EB, how he pushed you guys and held you guys accountable. Who's the coach here that does that now?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of guys. I think Coach Bieniemy set that standard when he was here, and I think you can see those lingering effects of the other coaches who have coached underneath EB, and then Coach Nags is, obviously coached with EB, been the offense coordinator before, and QB coach last year. So, we hold each other accountable. The coaches hold us accountable. But obviously we've made some mistakes that we don't typically make, and we're going to try to correct those as quickly as possible.
He brought up EB 3 separate times in that one answer and basically said he's the one, not the other guys here.
Listen, Kelsey said the same thing before the season. Yeah. Like when it was, everyone was talking about him and his effect. And he said it was actually after the Rivera thing when he was asked about it. And he said, almost unprompted, they need to listen to him. If they listen to him, he's going to make them better. So, there is a little bit of both ways here. Like, I don't want to just kill Bieniemy. Like, it did not particularly work, but this team also hasn't won very much.
Right.
Wasn't scoring a lot of points. Hadn't been very good on offense in years. Like, they needed someone to come in and do this. And if the players were pushing back at a lot of it, the response always was, don't you think he knows what he's doing? Look where he came from.
Yeah.
And look at what they had done. And everyone went, well, he has Pat Mahomes. Look this year. Like, they're having a good season, but it's nothing like it was.
It's not expectations-wise, yeah.
No. So maybe this is a little bit of the players needed to listen a little bit more, be a little bit more on board with all of this. And it is a mix of both things. Like, I don't want to kill the guy. Like, I don't think he's a bad coach. I know he's a good guy. I like conversing with him and talking to him. I do think that like he came on a little strong.
Yeah.
They needed it. In the spring, I thought it was great. And in the summer, when it was like there was some pushback to it, I'm like, okay, when is this a collaborative effort? Because it didn't feel like it was. And the biggest example of it was early in the season when they stopped running the ball entirely. And everybody was like, when are you going to run the ball? And they just didn't do it. He was like, you're not going to tell me how to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, there's probably a lot of guys that are going, man, we can't get through to this dude. Like
per usual with everything when these things go sideways, the answer probably does lie somewhere in the middle more than what's being talked about. And what
I don't want to go hard to blame him. I really don't think it's all him.
But one thing I will say,
think his heart's in the right place to get this right. He's like, I want to work hard.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sorry that you want to like. We want people to do that.
No,
of course we want people to do that.
Of course. I think the one thing that does seem to match up, though, is the players seemingly don't like how much power he was given, but it also, that makes sense given what with Kansas City, Andy Reid is the guy and has his own standards and most likely was the guy to reel him back in Kansas City,
If
too.
he had to,
of course.
Yeah, it's a bad comparison, but there is a little good cop, bad cop, it seems like.
No, correct. And I think that's all sports, honestly.
This is where, and Rivera with the players has always been good cop, but he refused to be a cop.
Yes, right, exactly. And that's where I think the problem
lied. He removed himself.
It was also Bieniemy. You can't argue with this either. It's status, too. Bieniemy is going, I'm the number one coordinator that should be a head coach. So, I should warrant having this type of attitude and doing what I think is the necessary and right thing to do with some of these guys. And you can't really reel it back in when he's kind of this prize name you're bringing in to bring onto your staff as well.
Yes. Yes. Here's one more quote. I'm going to read it to you that he said it was about his future again. And he said, has your approach to hearing about coordinators becoming head coaches changed over the years? Mm-hmm. And he said, it hasn't changed. I've learned to live in the now, and that's the only thing that matters. I can't worry about tomorrow unless I take care of today, which is just reiterating what he said. But then he goes, now, can I plan for the future? Yes. I've already done a number of things that can help me moving forward. So he is admitting that he realizes that he needs to get ahead of whatever is happening here. Yeah. And I don't know. I think this year, when a lot of people were calling for Rivera to be fired, and I knew that Josh Harris and that company they were not going to do that, short of some really like Josh McDaniels-y type of unforeseen, weird thing going on. I knew they weren't going to do it. But when they were saying, we'll just elevate Bieniemy and let's test him out, I'm like, I don't know, guys. Because whether it's right or wrong, he's not meshing with the locker room in the way that you would hope that it would galvanize it if you were to do this. Now, is that on him? Is that on the players? Right. Where is that? And then, which is why I want to reiterate, I'm not going to jump all over this guy. The main complaints about him is that he works everybody too hard and he's a little too hard on them. Geez, isn't that what you want? Don't you want accountability? Don't you want results? This team hasn't had any. So that's why I'm not ready to hit him over the head with a sledgehammer. Yeah. That said, him acknowledging I'm already getting ahead of this because we tried.
Yep.
It's not working. I assume that they're going to do whatever they're going to do, and whoever is hired as the head coach is probably not picking me to do this. But I wonder if he's going to at least get a say in the room with them.
Right. I mean,
maybe.
I would say too, though, there is a difference between putting in the work and being overworked. There's another difference when the blurb from Keim and Fowler was, he's running his meetings too long. I just feel like we've hit that point now in all of sports.
Is that really a criticism? I mean, it was geez.
I would say if you're not respecting people's time, that is a big deal. And if it's happening often, that's a big deal. I look at the Dolphins on Hard Knocks, and Mike McDaniel's whole thing was, while we're here, we're going to put in as much work as possible, but I am going to, respect your time and get you out a reasonable hour on a short week, right? I'm just using that example. If Bieniemy was constantly doing that and these guys have been there all day and he's holding meetings that are going too long, I get how that grinds on you right away. And when you approach him and go, hey, coach, this is running long these days. Can you just make sure we're out on time? I understand where that starts to snowball, and especially when you lose, it all compounds when you start to lose too.
Yeah, I think his heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
I know what he wants to accomplish. It just didn't happen this year for a lot of reasons, that are a little out of his control. Roster constructions in question here. There's a lot of things. A young, inexperienced quarterback, I'll hear all of that. I also think that he, as a play caller, was wayward at times and got away from things. 100%. And that's on him. That's totally on him too. And it is clear that not everybody was on board with all of this. And that's where I was like, you got to meet him in the middle. And that's where the players asked Rivera to help each other meet in the middle. And Rivera, I believe, was 2 hands off. So the whole system broke down.
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't think that he hasn't proven that he's still a very viable anything in this league. I don't think any of this year changed that, and I hope he gets what he's looking for. It's just best laid plans with him here clearly are evaporating.
I think the other thing, too, is his credibility took a hit at times, too, as well. Like, we talk about the Eagles' second game, I think it was, where they had like a 4th and 1, and he called some weird, like,
pass play,
shotgun, empty backfield play. And
we also, for some reason, when we can't get a yard when we need it, we're not the Eagles that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hard to take. But that also is a little roster construction.
Oh, of
we
course.
don't have the offensive lineman for it.
No, I'm with you, though. But, like, we saw how bad the offensive line was, and he went empty shotgun when you need a yard or two, and we're all going,
uh-oh.
Like, even the basic fans that, like, aren't, nitty-gritty like we are going, oh, that's not a good look. And the result was the result. So.
The second they line up that way, I'm side-eyeing Julie in London going, they're empty set. And we're all looking at each other like, praying he gets it because we know what the result's going to be when you don't.
And there's been multiple moments like that where it's like, go very basic, and I'm sure you have a better shot of whatever you just dialed up. And so that's when your credibility takes a hit too with your players.
And people will not complain if you hand off to Brian Robinson on a 4th and 1 and put Alex Armine in front of him.
That's right.
And if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Right.
That's execution.
Correct.
It's when you do these things and you go, what are you thinking when you're doing something like that? There has been good too, like especially early in the season. The design around the red zone was 8 million times better.
That was
than
awesome.
It had been.
Yeah, it was the complete opposite of Turner.
8 million times better.
Complete opposite of Turner.
We were all like, do that between the 20s. Like, what are you doing? Or like, stop dropping Hal back 50 times a game. Like, that doesn't, like, I'm excited about him too, but you're going to get him killed.
That's right.